The room was loud in the way family rooms get when people think nothing important is happening. Plates clinked. Someone laughed too hard at something unfunny. The ceiling fan clicked on its third wobble. I was standing near the doorway with my back half turned, holding a stack of empty cups, already preparing my exit before anyone asked me to do something else. That was when my mother laughed, not a burst of joy. Not surprise. It was the practiced laugh she used when she wanted agreement, when she wanted the room to tilt in her favor. "How does it feel?" she said, still smiling. "To be useless?" "Daughter." The word landed cleanly. No hesitation, no softening. A few people chuckled because that was the rhythm they'd learned. My aunt looked down at her plate. One cousin froze with a fork halfway to his mouth. My father didn't laugh, but he didn't interrupt either. He stared at the television like it might explain things to him, if he waited long enough. I noticed something strange about myself in that moment. My chest didn't tighten. My face didn't heat. I didn't feel the usual scramble to defend, to explain, to shrink the moment before it grew teeth. I just felt finished. I set the cups down slowly. The sound they made against the counter was louder than I expected. Someone turned the fan off. The room thinned. I looked at my mother. Not challengingly. Not sadly. Just directly. "Feels great," I said. "Since I just stopped paying your rent." It wasn't sharp, it wasn't raised. It was delivered the way you'd correct a date on a form. For a second, nothing happened. Her smile stayed exactly where it was, as if waiting for applause that didn't come. Then it slipped, not dramatically. Just enough to expose confusion underneath. My father turned. "What rent?" he said, then louder because volume had always been his substitute for clarity. "Why?" No one answered him right away. The thing about leverage is that it rarely announces itself. It grows quietly while everyone is distracted by louder forms of control. For years, I had paid because it was easier than explaining why I shouldn't have to. Because money was simpler than confrontation. Because covering the gap felt like responsibility, not surrender. I had told myself it didn't matter. That it wasn't about respect. That love could look like this and still count. But somewhere along the way, the payments stopped feeling neutral. They started to feel like punctuation marks at the end of insults. I hadn't planned to say it that night. I'd planned to send an email. Clean, informational, no audience. But something about the public laughter shifted the timing. Not out of anger, out of accuracy. The truth had simply arrived before my caution could slow it down. My mother found her voice first. "What are you talking about?" she said. "Don't start drama." "I'm not," I said. And I meant it. "I let the lease revert last month. I sent the confirmation." She looked to my father then, expecting backup. He looked back at her, genuinely lost. "You said the place was paid," he said. "It was," she snapped. "It is." That was when my phone buzzed on the counter. The timing was almost embarrassing in its precision. I didn't reach for it immediately. I let it buzz itself out. Then again. A third time. "I should take that," I said, already knowing who it was. No one stopped me. I stepped into the hallway, closed the door, and answered. The landlord's voice was polite, professional, unmistakable. He referenced dates, notices. A grace period that had expired that morning. He asked how my parents wanted to proceed. I told him he should speak to them directly now. When I opened the door again, the room had changed shape. People weren't sitting back anymore. They leaned forward, elbows on knees, like witnesses who hadn't expected testimony. I handed my phone to my mother. She didn't take it at first. Then she did reluctantly, as if it might burn. Her voice sharpened as she listened, then thinned. She argued. She tried to negotiate. She laughed once, too loudly, and the sound cracked. The landlord didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Authority doesn't. When she handed the phone back, she avoided my eyes. My father stood up. "Why didn't you tell me?" he demanded, not to me, but to her. His confusion had curdled into something heavier. "I handled it," she said. But the word handled had lost its weight. I watched them then, not with satisfaction, but with clarity. This was what it looked like when a dynamic lost its camouflage. No villains unmasked. No heroes crowned. Just facts standing where assumptions used to be. Someone suggested tea. No one moved to make it. I gathered my bag. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I'd imagined this kind of moment 100 times over the years. Always with shaking fingers, with speeches I'd rehearse and forget. Instead, I felt like someone closing a door that held open too long. You could have talked to us privately. My mother said, finally looking at me. I tried, I said, just not tonight. She wanted to say more. I could see it assembling behind her eyes, old scripts, familiar accusations. But she glanced at the others in the room, at my father's face, and recalculated. That was the quiet shift. Not defeat. Adjustment. I didn't stay to see how they filled the silence after I left. I walked out into the night, the air cool and ordinary. No music swelled. No relief washed over me. There was only the sensation of my shoulders lowering, an inch at a time. Later, alone, I wondered if I should feel guilty. The thought came automatically, like a reflex. But when I examined it, it didn't stick. Guilt requires belief in wrongdoing. All I could find was change. Relationships don't collapse loudly most of the time. They cool. They become something else. I didn't reclaim power that night. I reclaimed alignment. The distance between what I accepted and what I deserved finally closed. Whatever came next, arguments, silence, repair or none of it, I knew one thing with unusual certainty. I would not pay to be laughed at again.